Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Kathy with More Fun with Felt, and today is a super exciting day because we're going to be talking all about needles and the gauges and comparing them. One of the things as a new felter, even as seasoned felter, sometimes it's hard to understand really like what the needles are used for. What does each one of them do? How do you know when to pick this one up and that one up and use it? So I wanted to take each of these gauges that I have here today and show you a comparison of how they felt on top of a very firm core wool, which is going to be these dryer balls that I have. So I also want to explain to you the difference in the coarseness and kind of like what the actual tool is used for. So you'll have a better understanding next time you go to purchase needles, what you think that you're going to need to add to your needle tools. So I also have these tools right here that I'm going to compare and show you also at the end. So I have a little Poquito tool that's holding two 42 triangles, and I have a clover pen tool that is also holding two 42 triangles. We're going to go over those. This is my my tool that I've been using for years. This is brand new to me, so I'm going to use those and we'll compare the two and let you know if this is a good investment or not. And then I'm also going to go over some of the multi-needle tools. So these are the Clover punch tools, and this is just a standard multi-needle tool that you might get, say, in a beginner kit. You might already have one of these. And let's go over the needles that I have. When you're talking about needle gauges, the higher numbers are the finer needles, and the lower numbers are more coarse. So generally what I do when I'm felting is I'll start with the coarse needles and move my way through from coarse to medium to fine, and then follow up with a fine multi-tool to get a really smooth finish. So the 32 triangle is one of the ones that we're going to be going over today. It is created to build very firm foundations, deep lines, and it does leave large holes. This is generally used for building up your core wool base underneath, the top coat of a sculpture. Generally, that's what people will use it for. Another thing that you can use it for is to make really nice deep lines in a 2D felting sculpture or a 3D sculpture. So if you need a crack or a crevice or a really fine distinct line, the 32 triangle is really good for that. The 36 triangle is pretty much the same thing, only it's just not as powerful. So you've got the 32T that is most powerful. Then you have the 36T, not as powerful, but really, really aggressive. So I generally build my my bases with this just because I like how it feels in my hand better than the 32T. And that's what's going to happen is as you try needles and you get used to their strength, then you'll know what is going to work best for you. I also have today the 38 star and the 38 spiral. So the 38s are very good. They're considered medium. Medium are used really for building and shaping and molding. They're great for sculpting the 3D sculptures that we make. They're really also good for when you're doing 2D paintings with wool to really attack the thick layers. And basically shape and mold what you need, on those thick layers. This is probably the needle that you'll be using the most throughout a sculpt, and we'll go to it. So if you're going to buy more of one needle, I would definitely say make it the 38 star or the 38 spiral, whichever you like the best. The 40 spiral and the 40 triangle. 40s are considered fine. And the 40s, they are really good as far as gentle compaction. They don't leave a lot of marks. They're really good in tools. So like if you wanted to, you know, like have a tool like this where you have 2 or 3 40s in it, that's going to make your fine finishing very powerful and make it go a lot faster. The 42 is very fine. And I use this is probably my favorite needle. I use this in when I put 2 needles in a tool for finishing. I really, really love this needle. It gives me a nice smooth finish each time. Then I have the 46. I don't use this one that often just because it is so super fine that many times I feel like it doesn't even make an impact. This is really good for like little fine details and you know, tiny little dots and eyes, or you know, maybe a line in the middle of a petal, or if you're doing a teeny tiny bird and you need to put a beak on, something like that. That's what this is for. And you can also use it to go and finish and refine over a piece as well. And like I said, I don't use it that often. I kind of stop at the 42, but I did want to pull it out to show you. I also did not get this at Living Felt. This is not part of my my new collection that I just purchased. This I got on Amazon. I'll definitely put the link for the 46 in my Amazon links, my Amazon associate links in the description. So let's talk about the shape of the needle shafts. You have the triangle, you have the star, and you have the spiral. So a triangle is 3 flat sides, and the barbs are on the edges of each of those flat sides. So that is the most common needle. Most people will always, you know, go to a triangle first and get really used to it. Then you have the star. So a star is going to push more wool than a triangle. So it's a little bit more powerful. Even if it's the same gauge, it's a little bit more powerful than the triangle. It's gonna take more wool in with it. And the spirals kind of do the same thing, only it's going to take even more wool and it's going to make a very, very fine hole. So as you're poking with a spiral, it's really getting all the wool right around the surface of your poke, and it's pulling it in. And when you pull it out, the way that it's shaped allows it to create a very minimal poke hole. And that's what a lot of people really want. They don't want huge holes at the end of their felt. So again, it helps a lot to start with the coarse and move down. And then that helps to eliminate those large holes. So that's what the, you know, the shapes are for. And we already know what the gauges are for. So let's go ahead and take a look at each one of these. We're going to put these pen tools aside for now. And we'll take a look at each one of these needles one at a time. And then we will go from there. For safety purposes, I'm going to go ahead and put these away now. I just kind of wanted you to see them. I'm going to put these away until I'm ready to use them. And we'll start from the most coarse to the most fine. By the way, when you buy needles from Living Felt, you will get this really cool little guide, and it does go over everything that I've just explained to you, and also just allows you to have the diagram of the gauges. Just keep in mind that the colors on the needles from Needle Felt are not universal. So if you purchase them from some other company, their colors are going to be different. But the gauges are universal. So the gauges are the same no matter where you buy your needles. So it's a handy little guide. to have. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with our 32. Since it's a dark blue, I'm not going to be able to do this on each of these, but since it's a dark blue, I'll go ahead and pick my dark blue. And I think what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and map it out where I'm gonna put my line. So we're going to go ahead, all of these wools that I'm showing you today are carded, so they should have very similar felting properties. None of them are merino or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and just lay this out, and we will get this section covered. And this is the 32 triangle course. So the first thing that I will tell you is that it's really hard to push through. This is a very firm foundation, and it is very hard to push through. So I'm really having to use some strength. You can see how large the holes are. This is a very, very aggressive powerhouse of a needle. One of the uses that I generally use this for is when I'm adding locks or I'm adding wool yarn to a piece, like say a lamb or a troll or something like that, hair, those kinds of things. I'll use a 32 so that I can really get my locks and my yarn into the piece. Also, for attaching joints, a 32 is amazing. So those are the types of things that you can use it for. Get this side down. You can really hear it grinding through the wool. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and fill this whole piece in just because I'm a little OCD like that. Try to make it the same thickness there. Oh, I'm getting marker on me. This is a new set of alcohol markers and I'm not used to it yet. And they are not the best quality. I got them at Five Below. So I think it is true, you pay for quality. If you're wondering what color this is called Jade Heather. And it's absolutely beautiful. I've used it on mermaids and seahorses and dragons. A few dragons. Just going to cover that up because I have to. Okay. So this is basically just a once over with the 32 triangle. The things that I really am observing the most right now is you can see really, really large holes. This is felted well, like it's in there. Like I can pull it, but it's going to take a lot to get that out. And these strokes are going deep inside. So it's, you know, basically you could tell by just listening how strong it is. And then you can also see the large holes that it leaves. So when, if I were making this with a 32 triangle, I would have no problem getting it that firm. It's, you know, it would be super firm felt. So that is the strongest that I personally own. And I think it did a really good job and it did what it was supposed to do. So, you know, left the holes, but we expected that. So that is the 32 triangle, very coarse. If you can see, I don't know if you can see the shaft. Okay, let me put this one away. The next one is going to be a 36 triangle. Let me go ahead and use my pink. Now, like I said, I'm not going to be able to match all of these to their colors, but if I can, I am. So I'll use my pink and let me go ahead and start on this edge right here. And we'll see how this felts. Okay, so again, this one is for building really firm foundations as well. It's not as powerful as the first one, but it is very, very powerful. Don't let that fool you. So in my hand, it's not feeling as difficult to get it, to get the pokes to go in. It's still hard, but not as hard as the first one. So I feel like I can go maybe a little faster. Not that it's about speed, but I could if I wanted to. This again is also for building up foundations. This is the one that I normally use for my 3D sculpts. I really like to build my my bases with this one. It just seems to be a little bit more user-friendly. You can see the holes are super large as well on this one. And it is really making quite a bit of an impact into the wool dryer ball. It's definitely compressing the wool and taking the air out of it, which is what you really need to do when you're felting. You want to remove as much air as you can in order to have a really good felted piece. So because it's so strong, it really makes you kind of pause as you're poking, just to sort of get some more strength. At least for me, I have arthritis, and so I have to kind of sometimes take it a little slow with these really coarse needles. It's going to end up being a pretty little ornament or something after I'm done. There, that's pretty good. A couple of little bald spots there. Those things bother me. You can see just with one stab how much wool that's going to take in. Just one stab. So coarse. There. That'll be good enough for our purposes today. So there you have it. You can see $36. Look at my hand. So this is the 36 triangle. Again, really, really large holes. Super powerful. And I would say, in comparison to these two coarse ones, this one was harder to drive through the wool. This one went through the wool easier, but I feel like the holes are larger on this one. If you can see that. I feel like the holes are larger. And it felt very well. It really, everything's in there really nice and firm. Super firm. So, okay, that's the first two. 32 triangle, 36 triangle. Let me put this away. And I'm going to put this pink with it over here, so I know what I did. Okay, so the next one is my 38 star. This is your probably most common of all needles. I'm going to go ahead and do the light pink on this one. Just fold that over. And we'll start it right here. Now you can already tell, just even that you're watching and not even felting, how much easier this is gliding through the wool. It's much easier on your hand. This is designed to build and shape and mold your medium 38s. So it's going in much easier. The holes you can already see are much smaller than the holes from that. From the 36. Much smoother, a faster felt than the other two. So definitely in this, you know, with this is what I would use to put put my top coat layer on just like I'm doing here. This is the same application I would use it for in real life. Put my top coat layer on. If I need to shape something like an arm or a leg or a mouth or a face, I'm going to use this one. Really anything I need to shape. This is really good for sculpting ears and tails and that kind of thing. It's really very, very much a universal needle. Like you can use it for so many different things. Just going to draft that out and then lay that, make it a little thinner. Lay it right over my edge. I'm not sure what my dog is barking about. And just a little bit more to cover that patch. So there you go. It's pretty much, there's a little piece of fiber right there. Okay. So hole pokes are definitely getting lower, smaller. Hole pokes are definitely getting smaller from gauge to gauge. Again, this was the 38 star, and it, you know, did its job. It's good for, its primary purpose is sculpting, shaping, molding, and then also covering with the top coats. So it did a really good job. It was easier for me to poke into the wool and, you know, into this firm foundation, and it left a primarily smooth finish. I mean, it's not intended to leave a smooth finish, but it looks pretty nice. It's a pretty good finish. I could go over it some more, but since this purpose is just to show you the needles gauges, I'm not going to go over that one more time. So yeah, I'm very happy with how that worked. Let me put this away. Okay, and I'm going to put this with that. All right, next is 38 spiral. This is an orange one, and I do happen to have orange, so far I'm hitting all the colors. Let me see. This wool's a little more spongy, but it's a carded wool. My lopsided. Let's see if I can get this closer to the edge this time. All right, so 38 spiral. Let's go. Go down my edge first. It's very smooth going through the wool. I feel like I barely even have to put any pressure. It's kind of like just the tip of the needle is doing the work. Now, I don't know if you can see it, but as I poke here, it really brings a lot of wool in with the needle. I don't know if you can see that poke, how it's just bringing, see how it brings that wool in? That's what it's designed to do. It's definitely doing its, you know, living up to its purpose, doing its job. Fly away. Let me get this down first, and then we'll come back. Yeah, this is really nice in your hand, and it feels really good going through the wool. It's actually very satisfying feeling. It's with the 38s where the therapy of felting comes in, I think. You can kind of lose yourself in this felting with this needle. Kind of lose what you're doing. This orange is a Maori carded wool that I got from Desert Breeze on Amazon. They have beautiful colors and it felts very, very well. Kind of a mess with how it's laying though. My guinea pigs are telling me it's dinner time. This is the 38 star. This is the 38 spiral. And this one went in much easier. It was easy on my hands. I feel like it left more of a lumpy, bumpy surface. And normally I'll come back with my 42s and finish those out, refine that. So it's a smooth, it's a smooth felt on your hands. It brings a lot of wool in, but you can see, it is still pretty fuzzy and it is still lumpy bumpy. I feel like the 38 star left it actually a little bit less bumpy than the 38 spiral, which is kind of shocking to me because I would think the 38 spiral, would leave more of a clean surface. However, if you look at these two wools, this one's very bouncy and this one is very fine. So that has something to do with it too. So we always have to take that into consideration as well. So depending on the wool that your needle is, going into, it will make a difference with the needle as well. It is really good to actually see, how each one of these works. You can tell from the top. So this is the 36 triangle. This is the 32. So you can really see like the holes and the bumpiness of it. And it's hard to tell the firmness of the felt, but these two are definitely very, very firm felts. And these are not as hard. It's more pliable with the tip of my finger. I have ink all over me, so I'm so sorry about that. So yeah, so that's our first 4 in comparison. And then we'll actually probably smooth some of this out later when we're going over our multi-tools. Okay, so I think I'm going to try this iron-on transfer pen for the next lines. So the next one that we're going to do is the 40 spiral. So again, the 40 is a fine needle, and it is made for really gentle finishing, gentle compaction, minimal marks, and really for going over. We had these bumpy areas here. That's what they're for. They're for going over those bumpy areas. But also I do use the 40 myself in a lot of felting applications as well. So for instance, when I'm working on little pieces, like for instance, this little guy right here, he's all messed up from just being thrown around. But when I was doing him, I did most of his tail and his arms and such, with the 40 spiral. So it just, it feels good in certain applications. So you can already tell the holes are much, much smaller, very, very minimal. felt is fine. When you work with these tiny needles, the fine needles, it's really good to keep your stabs super close to each other. This is a needle that you would pick up to, you know, finish your piece, go over your lumps and your bumps and anything that's not smooth. It goes in very well, and it does feel really good in your hand while you're stabbing. This color is Pale Peach, and it's a flesh tone from Living Felt. This transfer pen is much better for this application. Not getting the ink all over me. Definitely do not want ink on your hands while you're felting, because then it gets on your felt. You can see that even though it's a fine needle, it's really making an impact. It definitely does its part of the work. So these little bumps that you see, that's just because I wasn't consistent. So like if I stayed really close, like here, you don't see a lot of that because I was real consistent up there. And then down here, I got a little bit carried away. But if you stay pretty consistent, you should be able to get most of those just on your first pass. The wool is thinner in some places than others. Let me just fill in a little bit of those gaps. Okay, so this one you can really see, like, this was the 38 spiral. This is the 40 spiral. So you can really see the difference, like, just from these two, how much finer of a finish this is. The holes are just very minimal, like you can barely see them. You would be able to rub that out just with your fingers. Just rub that right out. Now this you could probably rub out with your fingers as well. It's gonna need refining. So you are gonna need to go back over that with something else. This is, you know, this is what you would use at the end of your project. So you can really see the difference. It's really cool to compare them like this. So we have 32 triangle, 36 triangle, 38 star, 38 spiral, and then 40 spiral. Okay, let me put that one away. So let's do the green on this one because it's a green needle. This is 40 triangle. This is another one that I use very, very often. This is all of this green that I have left, so hopefully it makes it. Makes a difference to how you put it down. You know, if I put it down with all these holes all over the place, you know, it's not going to look like it's felting even, and that's not really the needle's fault. It's the way I laid the wool. Okay, so 40 triangle, here we go. So again, this would normally be used in a finishing situation, not so much a top coat covering situation. However, it can be used in, you know, applications like this, just depending on, you know, how fine your details need to be. This one is really, this is the one that I was telling you is really good in tools. So is the 42 triangle. This one is really good for like eye detail, mouth detail, fine lines. This is the one that you would go to for those kinds of things. If you have been having trouble with lines and you're using, you know, you have a 38 and that's all you're using, you really should invest in some good 40s and 42s. So see how it's not compacting quite like these were compacting? And that's because it's not made for that. It's not made to compact like that. Like for me to get that compact, I'd have to go over it several times. This is made for refining. Can barely see the holes. They're there, but it's much harder to see. And it goes into this wool really, really easy. Remember how I was struggling with that 32? Well, this is like butter on a roll, or slicing hot bread with a knife. The wool is a little bit wonky today. Takes a lot longer to do it with this needle because, again, I'm using it against its, 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 I'm against its purpose. It's not supposed to be used for this. So in order to cover something like this, it's really, I'm having to go back a lot, go back over. But it's doing a great job. I mean, better than can be expected. So there you have it. So that is the 40 triangle. You can see how it's still really wavy and, you know, spinny, like you can really see the different pieces of the wool. That is because, number one, this triangle does not take in as much wool as this 40 spiral did. So the 40 spiral, it was grabbing more wool and bringing it down with it. This one isn't designed for that. So it's just going straight in and straight out. And it felted really well. I mean, the holes are minimal, but it didn't sculpt it like you would see, you know, like on these. These are sculpted. And this one is not. It's made to go over something that's already sculpted. So, but it did a really good job. I'm actually impressed with it. Let me put this back. And again, that was the 40 triangle. So we have the 42 triangle. Let's get that one. And maybe for this one, let's do the red. The 42 triangle is my absolute favorite, just because it helps me finish my pieces. So, and I also love doubling it up. It's my favorite to double up. So you're gonna see with this one, it's barely pulling the wool down at all. And again, not made for putting a top coat on. So it's gonna leave this, it's gonna tack certain pieces down, but it's gonna leave this puffy. As you're stabbing with this one, it's so, compared to the other ones, it's so gentle and so light. It's like working with a feather. So you can really see, I mean, I could probably go over this 3 times and it's not going to flatten out. You can really see the difference, how puffy it still is. That is just because it's for refining and it's not for compacting the wool. That's not what it's good at. It still did a great job. However, like, just to, you know, show you the difference. So let's just look at the difference between, you know, these two. So this is designed to take the air out and really compact it down. This is designed to refine and smooth. So you can see, you know, they're both doing their job, but it's it really an eye-opening difference. So that is the 42 triangle. Put that one away. The last one really to show you is this 46. Let's do some yellow. This is kind of a puffy yellow. So it is so fine that it's probably not even going to really hold this wool down. So you can see, like, it's so barely taking any of the wool in. This is made for like the centers of eyes and refining very fine details on your wool. Yeah, so that's the 46. It's just not going to do the work, and that's okay. You know, that's what this is all about, just to show like kind of what this is for. I mean, what each thing is for and what each gauge does. But if you ever need, if you ever need to really get into a tiny place, this is the one that you're going to use. So not much to show on that. It didn't attach anything, but that's to be expected. You just use this for very fine, small little tiny details. As a matter of fact, you don't even really need this needle because you'll barely use it. Well, I hope that gave you a little bit of an understanding of what each of the needle gauges actually do, and which ones that you're going to need in your arsenal of tools. So now we're going to compare these multi-needle tools. So this one comes probably in every beginner kit, or a lot of beginner kits, especially like on Amazon. Let me show you on this. Okay, so this is when you have a big piece of core wool, and you're trying to compact it down. That's what this is going to be for. This will get your work done quickly, and it's good for shaping and forming, you know, a piece that's going to go underneath the top coat. So that's what that's for. It does its job very well, but really be careful and mindful of your fingers when you're using one of these. So the Clover Punch tools, their best use is for making something flat. So like if you were going to make an ear, I'll just show you here. You would just, you don't have to really even go into the mat. You just can barely tap. And then go on the other side. And this is how you would make like a bunny ear or a tail or something like that. And you just keep doing that, flipping it and flipping it and flipping it and working on it until you have an actual like piece of fabric. It's going to actually look like a piece of felt. These guys have 5 fine needles in them. And this is a guard so that the needles don't break, and this, it locks and unlocks. So if you're traveling with it, it's not going to go down and break your needles or stab somebody. See how I can't get to the needle that way. So it has that safety mechanism, which is really good, especially for using it with kids. So if you have kids that are felting, you can always lock this when it's not in use, and they won't hurt themselves accidentally. So that's what the Clover Punch tool is for. And then this one is my Clover Pen tool. And I have 2 42 triangles in it. And this one I actually use a lot. I use this all the time. I've recently gotten this little Poquito tool, which has 2 42 triangles in it as well. One of the things I wanted to do today was kind of compare the two, just to sort of tell you, like, do I like, you know, which one do I like better? And, you know, am I going to use this more now that I have this one, or am I going to stick with my Clover pen tool? So in order to do that, let's go to a use that we would actually use it for. So one of the things that I would use my pen tool for would be to come and smooth out a surface that was done with a coarse needle or a medium needle. So either one of these would be good. I think these were both 2 medium needles. So let's actually just start there. So let's just go ahead and start in the center. I'm going to start in the center and go up. And then you should be able to see a difference. When I do this, I like to turn the needle several times because it's stabbing one on top of another. So when I turn it, I get what was in between. So this is where we started. And you can see the top portion up here is already much smoother than this bottom portion. It's just gone in and removed a lot of the little holes that you can see down here. So there's, you know, barely any holes. It's actually reduced and compacted the wool more, and it's refining it. So that's my Clover pen tool. It is very comfortable in your hand. It's something that I use very, very often. And I have this little Poquito tool, and so far I like it a lot. I feel like I'm betraying the Clover pen tool when I use it, which sounds funny. And I'm gonna just show you how it works on this one. We'll do half of this one. Now technically it's the same needles, so it shouldn't have much of a difference in as far as its impact, but it's the grip that's different. So this grip is actually very comfortable. It's like a very natural grip in my hands, which is really good if you have arthritis, which I do. And it feels just really comfortable. So this is always the next step in refining. You'll always come back with like 242 triangles and go over your entire piece. Now I'm going back the opposite direction. I just turn my needles. So you can see, so there's the cutoff, and that is a big difference. So that's how, you know, that's how I smooth out my pieces. A lot of people will just leave it like this because they don't realize that you can take these refining tools and go back over. But yeah, that's how they work. If I were to choose one today, as much as I hate to betray my Clover pen tool, this one's very comfortable. So I think I will be using it quite a bit in the future. And it might end up being my favorite tool at some point. Okay. So I do hope that this has given you guys some insight into the needle gauges, and you know, the different types of needles that you can buy and what they're used for. And so now you can go out and purchase the needles that you're missing, if you are missing any. And if you are not missing any, you know what needles that you can use on your next felt. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that for you guys today. And thank you so much for watching. Please leave a comment in the comment section down below and let me know what you thought of this and other things that you might be wondering about felting. And find me on Facebook. It is More Fun with Felt with spaces in between. And then you can also now, if you wanted to and you're benefiting from this, you can subscribe, like, and you can give super thanks. I am now monetized, so thank you guys so much for coming back continuously and, you know, helping me get those watch hours and subscribing. I truly appreciate you. I will see you in the next video.